Alright, so we are on Chapter 3, Section 2. The name of this section is Add Integers. So, first of all, quick review, integers. Integers are the numbers -3, 4, -2, 8. They're numbers that aren't divided. So, things that are not integers would be things like 0.2 or 3/5 and so forth. And if you needed to review that, you can look at the previous video where we went over what integers were. Next thing that we have to go over is we had a little bit of vocabulary in this section. The vocabulary that we had is something called additive inverse. Now, inverse, kind of like the word reverse, inverse, opposites, additive when you add. So, additive inverse is where you have two integers that are opposites. And when you have two integers that are opposites and you add them, see, it's additive inverse, when you add them, what happens? You end up getting 0. So for example, you find $3 on the street. It's a +3, yay. And your brother or sister punches you in the head and takes it away. That's a -3. Well, +3 and -3 equals 0. And it can happen the opposite way too. Your, brother or sister takes $3 from you. That's a -3. And then you find $3, somewhere on the street, +3. Well, you're right back 0. Now, what we're going to have for test questions is you might have something like this. What is the additive inverse of and they'll give you some crazy number. Let's say -258. And you say, okay, cool, it's 258. And since this is negative, this is positive, yay, done. What is the additive inverse of -3? Well, kids, what's the opposite of -3? +3, yay. What's the additive inverse of +2? What's the opposite of +2? -2, yay. Okay, that's additive inverse. Now, the whole name of this section was add integers, so now I'm going to give you the rules for adding integers. So, to add integers, if you have integers with the same sign, these are the easiest ones to do. Number 1, you're going to add the numbers. Just add the numbers. When you do this, you ignore the sign at first. And then, number 2, you are going to make your answer the same sign as the numbers. So, let me give you some examples of that. Let's say you had 3 plus 5. Well, these are both positive. So I'm going to say, okay, 3 and 5, this is back to first grade math probably, that's 8. These are both positive, that's positive, yay, I'm done.
Wow.
Now, let's do the same sign one with negative numbers. -2 plus a -3. Now, I'm going to ignore the signs at first and say, well, 2 plus 3, first grade style, 2 and 3 make 5. Since these numbers are both negative, my answer is going to be negative. Done.
It's easy.
Now, one thing you might be wondering is you might be saying, hey, what's up with these parentheses here? Why do we have them? Let me show you. Yeah, that's right. So, why the parentheses? Well, the reason why is because without, look at that abbreviation, without them, this is what the problem would be. -2 plus minus 3. And when you look at this, kids, if there's no parentheses there, you're like, am I adding? Am I subtracting? Is this plus and negative? Or, you know, is it plus minus? You know, maybe I couldn't make up my mind. Didn't know if I was adding or subtracting or doing both. You don't really know what to do. But with the parentheses, you say, okay, -2 plus a -3. It delineates between subtraction and addition, makes it very clear what you do. Alright, the next part that we're going to deal with is when we have different signs. So, when we have different signs, what we're going to do is, one, you're going to subtract the absolute value So instead of adding, you're going to find the absolute value of the numbers and you're going to subtract it. But when you do this, when you subtract the absolute values, okay, there's a couple little things. You need to check your problem and make sure that the larger number is first. So you might have to rewrite it. So rewrite it so the larger number is first, and your answer is the same sign as the bigger number. Now, I know this sounds a little bit complex. Once you do a couple of these, it's not too bad. And eventually you will get to the point where you don't have to worry about absolute values and you can just do them in your head. Let's take a look at some examples. Alright, so let's take a look at some examples. Let's say we had 9 plus -4. Okay? So, first thing I do, so we've got 9 plus -4. So what we're going to do is we've got the absolute value of 9 plus the absolute value of -4. Absolute value of 9 is 9. Absolute value of -4 is 4. And remember, you subtract the absolute values, so this is going to be a subtraction sign. 9 minus 4 is 5. So the answer to 9 plus -4 is 5. The bigger number had a positive sign. This has a positive sign. Next example. Let's say we had -3 plus 2. So, with this one, The absolute value of negative 3 is, class, the absolute value of negative 3 is, good. Absolute value of 2 is, 3 minus 2 is 1. And the bigger of the two numbers, what's the sign of the bigger number?
Negative.
Negative, so the answer is negative.
Oh.
Let's do another one.
Why do you subtract the 2? Is it negative plus or the 9 plus negative 4?
Another one. Let's do 10 plus negative 13. 10 plus negative 13. Alright, so first of all, if I ignore the signs, the bigger the numbers is going to be this one right here. So I can rewrite it as negative 13 plus 10. And remember, with addition problems, you can mix things up. So for example, if I gave you 1 plus 2, you could also do 2 plus 1. Either way, you get the answer is 3. So with this, see how I just rewrote this? Okay. Now, absolute value of negative 13 is 13. Absolute value of 10 is 10. 13 minus 10 is 3. And the sign of the bigger number was negative, so this is going to be negative 3. And that is how to add when you have different signs, and that is adding integers.